Get on it down. Say it loud. I'm gonna proud. Say it loud. I'm gonna proud. Lord, Lord. Say it loud. I'm gonna proud. Look here. Some people say it's malice. Some say it's a lot of nerve. I say we can't quit moving till we get what we deserve.
Good day. I'm John Reed, and I'm also here with Dr. Barbara Shannon Bannister. We're both board members of Grand Design, Inc. I'm the secretary and she's the president and CEO. We want to welcome you to the premiere episode of Breaking Barriers, Building Bridges. In this 12-part series, we will examine our influence locally and across the globe through sound, music, and song. Throughout our history, Black American music has been the heartbeat pulsating through the landscape of American pop culture. African influences on America's music is so distinct. You can hear it in every beat, every guitar lick, every bass line, from the Blue Note scale to the skank to the Roland 808. Let's pinpoint that which makes our influence sonically identifiable.
In this series, we will introduce Grand Design, Inc. We will discuss Grand Design's humble beginnings, ask questions regarding our societal culture, how it was an inspiration for Grand Design's start, and what influences Grand Design has had upon our local culture.
When it comes to acknowledgement of our contributions in American society, Black people have had to confront stereotypes, discrimination, and outright theft of our creations to be recognized. Black artists are no different. That's right, fake news is nothing new to us. However, there's a long line of artists in all genres of music that use their creativity to resist these forms of oppression. It's no wonder the Isley Brothers and Public Enemy told us to fight the enemy, fight the power. Bold anthems of resistance by some of the biggest names in music are timeless classics.
Our host organization, Grand Design, Inc., is behind the production of Breaking Barriers and Building Bridges. And this is of our own Aurora-based performing arts company, only Black-owned and operated performing arts company in Aurora. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The mission of Grand Design is to preserve and keep alive the performing arts of African Americans while being inclusive of all other cultural performing arts. We educate, inspire, and enrich the world by providing top quality, affordable, originally designed, multicultural performing arts and training.
In 1994, Dr. Barbara Shannon Bannister, also known as BSB or Barbara, began discussing with friends and colleagues about creating a company that would support and promote listening to and the performance of musical works by African Americans and to enhance societal's cultural awareness and demonstrate through enjoyable experiences. Out of extensive exchanges, Grand Design, Inc. was created. Do you mind if I tell people a little bit about who you are and what
not.
you do?
You better
Oh,
not.
I'm gonna do it anyway.
You better not.
Barbara is a musician, performer, teacher, community leader, and much more. Barbara, can you say a little bit about Grand Design's humble beginning and let us know how it all got started?
I'd be happy to. Grand Design is my effort to get back to my music. I had drifted away from it and other things with civil rights, et cetera. And then I thought, well, I need to get back to my music. And then there was another lady who was an excellent musician, and she handled the chorale and I helped her handle the dancers. She was an American, but she had lived in Africa, and so she had a lot of unique kinds of movements and sticks and stuff that we used with our kids, because we started out with the chorale and with children, and we called them the Jubilee Singers and performers. And we, in our early days, we toured all of the nursing homes in Aurora, and did performances for those people staying in the nursing homes, and we made little trinkets to give to them. And we had like a cavalcade of like 12 cars of parents with kids in them, and it was we could have had a parade, but we didn't think about it. I mean, I'm from New Orleans. I could have had a Mardi Gras in Aurora, but I didn't do it. But that's how we started out, in the very humble beginnings. The Scientific Cultural Facilities District in Adams County gave us $10,000 to give us a little head start, and then that's how we started. And we would meet in everybody's houses and practice, and we met in the library rooms, and really had a very, very good time. And so we started out with dance and the chorale, and then we had the NCJC in 2000. That was later years, and we called that NCJC because it was in the year 2000. And at first we were going around to churches, various churches, and having productions and then having food. But lately, for the last several years, we have a wonderful young lady by the name of Jennifer Gillian, who's handling that at the Town Center at Aurora, and we have productions and performances there on a quarterly basis, and it seems to be, everybody seems to really like what we're doing. And from that, but then we did the original productions. We did Amistad, we've done Sweet Moses, we've done the civil rights stories, and then we've had performances. The chorale has done Les Serenettes de Chorale at the Fox Arts Center, and we've done that for many years. We've had award kinds of things. We've just been very, very versatile. And one other thing is our chorale is made up of mostly senior members, of which I'm a senior, but we have a couple of young'uns too.
Nice. Is there anything in particular that sticks out to you about the chorale? I know I've had the privilege as a board member of going to some of their performances, and I know, every time I walk away, I'm moved, touched, and inspired by what they convey, what they sing. They're just amazing.
And that's what we're about. It's not just performance. It's not just learning the song and singing it without any emotion. We sing for the glory of God, and we want to always, whatever we do and however we sing, to project a message out there to the audience. New Orleans and Louisiana, New Orleans is a Catholic city, and Louisiana is a Catholic state. We don't have wards and stuff like you have up in this part of the country. But because it was a Catholic state, I went to Xavier University as a young child, taking violin lessons, which I still can't play the violin very well, but I can teach it. But I could get, if I pulled it out now, everybody would run out of the studio too. But I can teach violin, and so therefore, from the Junior School of Music at Xavier University, I went away to high school, to boarding school, and it was a Catholic boarding school, and we went to Mass every day except Saturday. And so therefore, that's where I learned how to play that pump organ. You had to pump it with your feet to keep those bellows full of air and play those hymns, and that's where I learned to play hymns. And what the music that we love the best out of the gospel mass is the Alleluia. And it just says, Alleluia, praise to God. And there are so many other parts to that. There's the Kyrie, there's the glory to God, there's the Credo, there's the acclamation that we just talked about, and then there is the Sanctus, and our last one is the Agnus Dei, and that's the whole layout of a high mass for Catholics. And they used to always do that in Latin, but of course we sing it in English.
Do you remember the first time you heard that song, Alleluia, and what that evoked for you?
Yes, because it says to me, all praise to my God who sustains me, who makes me able to abide by whatever happens to me. I'm not suggesting to you that everything is good in my life, but I'm suggesting to you that whatever is in my life, I can accommodate it and I can manage it, and that every day is a new day and I can make a new record somewhere.
Awesome. And how do you relate that to Grand Design and its mission?
Well, to most people, most of the people in Grand Design are church members who sing in choirs of their own. And so most of them are not professional singers, but they are soloists in their own right in their own churches. So therefore, when you bring that kind of mixture together, everybody has a different idea about how things can work. But I think we are all on one accord in terms of we sing to send a message out there. And everything we do is that we want to make the audience understand where we're coming from. And that's what makes it really good. It's not just me practicing the scales. It's me giving the message out to the greater majority.
Do you have anything that sticks out for you additionally in terms of the song we just heard? And what ways do you think music influences you as an artist or enthusiast?
Well, I think music transcends all lines. It doesn't matter whether or not you are an Asian or an African or an Italian or an Anglo or a Caucasian or whatever. Music is something that all people, I think, can understand. Now, there are people who like certain kinds of music. I can accommodate all kinds of music. I used to, when I think about it, I used to monitor a country western station in Wyoming, and you could say, Barbara, it has no reference to country western music. But for 12 hours a day, I had to monitor a country western station. And so I heard every heart blown, every tragedy there ever was, you know, and when I monitored that country western station. But I also heard country western music. So therefore, I couldn't dislike it because I was doing something that they were paying me to do. So therefore, although I don't embrace country western music, except for Ray Charles, I can't help, you know that one? So you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
I know exactly what you're talking about, and just the sound of music has to be sentimental for you as well.
Oh yes, I can be driving along and I hear a song and I hear certain chords, and it'll make tears come to my eyes. I don't know what it is about those certain chords that make me tear up about it, but it's something that touches, and I can't explain how it touches my soul.
Old man River, he must know something, but don't say nothing. He just keeps rolling. He keeps on rolling along. He don't plant taters, he don't plant cotton. Them that plants them is soon forgotten, but old man River, he just keeps rolling along. You and me, we sweat and strain, body all aching and racked with pain. Tote that barge, lift that bale, show a little grit, and your land's in jail. But I keeps laughing instead of crying. I must keep fighting until I'm dying. And old man River, he'll just keep rolling along.
Wow, that's amazing. Paul Robeson, the son of an escaped slave, and his ascension into the arts and athletics is unparalleled. an Akun Senegalese recording artist, started the movement, Akun Lighting Africa, in 2014, and provides electricity to 15 countries in Africa. These are just a few examples of the power of music. Dr. Bannister, what or whom inspired the grand design production of Paul Robeson?
Well, the Fox Theater had done a very successful production of The Color Purple, and I had gone to that production, and I thought, oh goodness, it looks. But Color Purple was much more universal than Paul Robeson. So I think a lot of folks across all kinds of cultures and races saw The Color Purple. And so therefore the production at the Fox Theater was very, very lucrative and very, very well attended. So the Fox Theater, I'm assuming, thought, okay, that was a good idea because most of our ticket holders are Anglos, or Caucasians. Let's see if we can get more people of color to come to a production about a person that they thought we all knew about. And we might know about Paul Robeson to a certain extent, but I don't think we knew that beyond him being a musician and a great voice, that he was an athlete and that he was a political activist. And that's why he was banned, not because he was an athlete, not because he was a great singer, but because he was a political activist. Our country didn't like him and said, be gone, exile. And that's what happened to him. But yet I have to compliment him knowing that it didn't matter to him that the United States didn't like him and didn't respect him and didn't honor him. He went ahead doing his political thing and breaking barriers and building bridges other places.
Excellent. You know, what stood out for me in terms of the Paul Robeson production was, you know, up until that production, I had taken for granted that a lot of African American performing artists that were born here got their acclaim in European countries, and according to him and the history that was conveyed, you know, he was well received there.
Yes, and but what you just said is true, because even when I was in college, the young women and the young men who were very, very good opera singers, they had to go to Germany, and Germany was very receptive. When I think about the immigration years and years ago, you know, Germans were the ones, the most Germans out of all the people who immigrated to our country, Germans, their number is really tops. And so therefore I'm thinking Germany, more so than Italy, more so than Spain, where we think of dancing and music, et cetera, and you think Germans, you know, they're much more, we think of them as much more powerful and much more dramatic in terms of how they march, et cetera. And but then at that point in time, which was 40, 50 years ago, had to go to other countries to go to Germany to get that, be renowned, and we're still doing it. African American opera singers, classical singers, musicians, bands have to go to Germany and get those accolades, and then when they make it there, they can come back here and they can be on the charts.
Incredible. You know, although we're at a different period of time, nothing's really changed in that regard.
Nothing's new under the sun.
Nothing's new under the sun. What is the single most powerful way you have seen music used to affect the world in a positive way?
Well, I think music, when you talk about teaching children who are bilingual, they have to learn a language. And I have videotapes of a little child. He must be at maybe 2 or 3 years old, but he's in the car, in his car seat, in the back seat, and his mother must be playing some song on the radio. And that little child can hardly talk, but that little child is singing that song like he was taught to sing it. So therefore, you're talking about a child listening to music. And so if music is that powerful, how come educators haven't learned that you can't teach us the three, reading, writing, and arithmetic like you taught us 100 years ago, that there's another way to teach kids, and especially multilingual kids, and especially young kids. We are just resistant to, we're going to do it this way, and this is the way it's going to be, and then we're going to have a whole bunch of folks who are uneducated. If they can't when you go to McDonald's, they can't even make change because they have to look at the picture and see what you bought. And if the power goes out, nobody gets food. That's ridiculous, isn't it? But yet we have what we have in front of us, the technology that I think that what I would have thought with music and listening to music would have advanced us further along. But obviously that is not happening. But I'm hoping that somewhere along the line, something like this, when people listen to it and hear it, maybe they'll go buy a record. Maybe they'll go buy something by an opera star. Maybe they'll go buy a classical thing. Maybe they'll go down to Denver Center for the Performing Arts and see a production or a play or a musical. They'll say, let's go try it out. It costs no more than going to see pop stars where they pay big time prices to go and see the people that they love. And I would do that. I'm not downing that. I'm just saying add a little bit more variety to your life in music.
And you know, that is a shame. And as my grandmother would say,
Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeedy. BSB, why do you think we find it difficult to identify artists in today's political climate to speak out against issues of injustice?
Well, sometimes they're greedy. And sometimes whoever their managers are, they listen to their managers, and if they have what they consider to have good managers who say, no, that's not what you want to do. I read somewhere that James Brown, then when he wanted to say, I'm black and I'm proud, I said, no, you don't do that because that's going to ruin your career. Well, for a while, I guess it did, put a little stop on it. But he went on to be successful, and it was a turning point for the African American community, for the black community, to say, yes, I'm black and I'm proud. Yes, I'm black and I'm proud, and I don't want to be anything else. I don't want to be white. I don't want to be Italian. I don't want to be German. I don't want to be anything else. I want to be just exactly what I am. But I think some people are greedy, and they want that money, and they've been used to it, and they don't want to see that money dwindle and go away. But hopefully some of them are being wise, and they're investing their money so that if they stop making it, because they're not going to always make that kind of money all the time, that when they stop making it, they still have a bank somewhere. But that's what they're afraid of, and they're afraid of the political climate in our country of oppressing them. And so that's, and then when our community doesn't rally around them, then they feel isolated. And that's the bad part about it. Because we don't, when they step out there, hey, we back off.
Got it. What do you say to those who say you can't change the world with a song or just be an entertainer? Stay out of politics.
Well, I say to them, don't do that. Don't stay out of politics. There are too few of us who are willing to step out there on the limb. I had somebody say to me once that they came to me with an issue. And they said, you're already out there on the limb, aren't you? I'm not going to go out there. They said, you're going out there because you're already out there on the limb. So it was like, okay, I'm already out there, so you want to tell me to go and take your problem to someone. No, I think it's all of our responsibilities if we want to leave a legacy of a good world and an honest world behind us. I'm not going to be here all the time, but my grandkids are going to be here, my great-grandkids are going to be here, and I want them to live in a world that's peaceful, and that's congenial, and that they can move about in society, that they can, based on their attributes and their talents and stuff, that people judge them for who they are and not the color of their skin. So that's what I would say. Step out and on faith. But if you don't feel like doing that and that's not a part of it, then that's what happens, I think. Then people don't do it. And I have to respect it. If you don't want to do what Barbara does, that's fine. Your name is John. My name is Barbara. There's a difference.
It sure is. And thank you for that. Who is someone today that resembles the spirit of a Bob Marley or a Robeson or Marvin Gaye?
Well, that's it, Marvin Gaye. I mean, look how long, he's been dead 30 years, and it's like he died yesterday. The music is still there. The feeling is still there. When that song comes up on the dance floor, everybody gets up. And it was one of the first songs that was over 3 minutes, because most 45s, the small records, were 3 minutes on a side. But his was like 3.5, 4 minutes. And by the time you finished dancing to that, it was like when you walked back to your seat, it was, whew,
Wow.
That was quite some music, but you enjoyed doing it. His was civil rights songs and civil rights civil rights basics too. Yeah, he was really good in giving that message. And too bad that what happened to him, but so be it. I'm still talking about him, and I don't think I could say his name any better if he were alive today.
Yeah, it sure is, and it's so poignant, and it is so absolutely relevant, and that just goes to tell us all that, you know, those things that are on point that were created years ago still have a profound impact in terms of
Absolutely.
our community and our society today.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Let's take a listen and a look at this artist and his work.
1, 2, 3, 4. Put your pants up. Say it loud. Say it loud. Say it loud. Oh, Lord. Say it loud. Look here. Some people say it's malice. Some say it's a lot of nerve. I say we can't quit moving till we get what we deserve. I worked hard with my feet and with my hands. All the work I've done was for the other man. Look at say it loud. Good God. Say it loud. Get it. Say it loud. Lord, Lord, Lord. Say it loud. Ooh-wee. Killing me. All right. Out of sight. So tough. Governor. Say it loud. Lord. Say it loud. Hey. Say it loud. Say it loud. Look here. We the man a chance. Do things for ourselves. Tired of beating our head against the wall and waiting for someone else. Just as sure as it takes 2 eyes to make a pair. Brother, we won't quit until we get our share. You're killing me. All right. Singing with talk. Singing with talk. Say it loud. All right. Hit it. Say it loud. Good God. Say it loud. Yeah. Say it loud. Bring it up. Say it loud.
That was absolutely wonderful. Some of the most classic songs in our history by some of the greatest artists of all times are all about resistance. When the Godfather of Soul said, "Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud," he let the world know that fame and money would not allow him to forget who he was. So much of our creative self-expression is born out of pain and suffering. We'll go into the origins of gospel and take a look at the pain and that summons up the field holler and harmonizes the Negro spiritual as barriers of oppression burdens our bodies. Our souls set the course for freedom in redemption songs. From Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit to Tupac Shakur's Brenda's Got a Baby, let our journey be an analysis into the source of our cultural creative self-expression. BSB, do you have any final thoughts
Lots
to share
of
with
them.
us? Okay,
Lots
go
of 'em.
girl.
Yeah, lots of them. Lots of them. When I think about things that the music, etc., I need to make sure we know that the spirituals were a part of the Southern experience, and songs that were that we sang, well, that I sing, that we sing now in our group when we go and sing at our community college of Aurora, or we sing at the Fox Theater. They were songs that I think somebody later on said Okay, if it was wade in the water, that meant go down to the river because we're getting ready to get out of here. And various other Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, I Just Got Over, all kinds of songs like that. Not My Mother, But My Brother, and It's Me, Oh Lord, Standing in the Need of Prayer. So all of those were supposed to be songs that were double messages, not only the spiritual part of it, but messages to the community where they live. Now, the gospel songs were the northern response to the southern, the spirituals. So the people in the north took some of those spirituals and put them to a different beat, and then that's where the gospel songs came in. And the gospel songs were more a spirituality, not necessarily the Bible spirituality, but the spirituality of the person, that there would be a better place to be than be where they are. And so there's a dichotomy of the spirituals versus the gospel. And now sometimes when you hear things, people intertwine the two, and you can tell the strain that's the gospel, and you can tell the strain that's the spiritual. But I have a poem that I'd like to read to say to you.
Let's hear it. All right.
Black folks' music helped slaves that were sold relate horror stories of old. Black folks' music reflects the past and sustains the things that last. Black folk music gives inner peace, keeps us going, and will never ever cease. Black folks' music is serious and sad, a twang of blues and syncopated jazz. Black folks' music has a ragtime beat, makes you listen and tap your feet. Black folk music is gospel and soul, improvises its own goals. Black folk music is loving and kind, right in line to meet the times. Black folk music crosses color lines, serves the world with truth sublime. Black folk music stands tall and proud, that other folks may sing it loud. Black folk music has a country air to liven you up beyond compare. Black folk music is here to stay. Ain't nobody gonna take that away.
Pow! You get it, BSB. That was absolutely amazing. And thank you for sharing that. It was on point. This concludes the first installment of Breaking Barriers, Building Bridges, the social impact of African American music. Please remember to stay tuned for every series as we continue the journey of our history, heritage, culture, and triumph. A special thank you to everyone who made this series possible. See you soon and keep watching.
He